Hey guys, in this video I'm going to discuss step by step how I changed my torque mount on my 2002 Ford Focus ZTS. In this video I'm also going to go over some of the issues that I ran into while changing the mounts. If any part of this video was helpful, please hit the thumbs up button and leave a comment down in the bottom and let me know what part helped you out. That way I can produce better quality videos for you guys in the future. Alright, so the vibration is coming through the floor. You can feel it on your seats, but when you apply torque or a little bit of throttle, the vibration goes away. Once you let go of the throttle, the vibration comes back. So we're going to go under and check out the torque mount on the lower side of the transmission. So now that I have the vehicle jacked up and I also have the transmission supported, we can get on to removing this bolt right here. It's going to be a 13 millimeter bolt. Alright, so just to show you why I had to replace this torque mount, if you look right here when I pry on it, there's all kinds of play. This thing just bounces back and forth. Alright, so the next bolt that we're going to take out is going to be this one right here, attaching the torque mount to the transmission. This is also going to be a 13 millimeter bolt to keep it nice and simple for you. Now that we have the main bolt holding the torque mount to the transmission, the next thing we need to do is remove 3 more bolts. They're all going to be 13 millimeters yet again, and that'll allow us to remove this bracket so that we can pull out the torque mount. This bolt's a little bit harder to get to, so what you're going to need to do is most likely use the 13 millimeter wrench and put a little extension on it. That way you can get a little bit of leverage. Most likely you're not going to be able to get a ratchet up in there. Now how I do an extension for the ratchets, I just grab the wrench, loop up this. I'm using the 14 millimeter, and this will actually give me nice long leverage to get this bolt out. Alright, so being completely honest with you guys, the hardest part about this job so far was getting this new mount in. Now, it wasn't just the difference between a factory part and an aftermarket part. That didn't even come into play. The main difference was that there was a bushing inside on this bolt underneath, and I'll show you a picture, that when you tighten the bolt down, it actually makes the bushing go inside. Well, I was able to pry out the old torque mount, but I couldn't even get the old one back in because it was so tight. So what I ended up having to do was use a C-clamp and a couple pieces of steel that I just placed flat across here, and I was able to press back out that bushing just enough to get the mount back in. Now once it's in and I tighten this down, that bushing will push itself back in and hold itself in place. But just so you guys have a heads up, that was the hardest part I had. It took me about 5 minutes or so to figure it out as to what my options were. So now that I got this thing mounted up in here, we're going to go ahead and put it back underneath the vehicle. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is put in the torque mount first. Now, you want to put in the bolt first. That way you have some play to help line up these bolts. Because if you attach the bracket first, it's going to make it very difficult for you to actually get the torque mount holes to line up, just in case the transmission is a little off. Alright, so what I had to do in order to get these bolts to line up is I actually had to release a little bit of the tension on the transmission with the jack. As you can see, I can literally just move the jack out, so the transmission is being held up by the transmission mount above, and that allows me to move the transmission to the desired point so that I can actually get these bolts in the holes. And you just want to wiggle back and forth until you get them in there. And as you can tell, it's really not that difficult. It's just a matter of figuring out what works best for your situation. Now all that's left to do is to finish bolting these in and tightening them up. Now I just have those finger tight right now. I'm just working the bolts in little by little, nothing too crazy. Alright, so now that all the bolts have been finger tightened, I like to come back with a wrench or a ratchet and tighten the rest of the bolts by hand. I prefer this method over using an air ratchet because you can never accurately tell how much torque you're putting on a bolt when you're using air. So when I don't have a specific torque spec, I can at least make sure that all the bolts are equally tightened down and I do not over tighten a bolt. So with this, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope that it helped you, and subscribe down below. Let me know if you have any comments or questions as well down in the comment section. Thanks for watching.